So welcome everybody. This is the March version, not the March edition, the March meeting of the community, MassEnergize, the community of practice meeting. Thank you very much for joining us. We have some, some good updates. And really tonight, what we wanted to focus on, after we give you some updates and talk a little bit about some of the things that you can do with your sites, we are hoping to have some kind of sharing about upcoming Earth Day activities. So just be thinking about that. If you've got some sharing, or if you've got some either Earth Day ideas or Earth Day plans, we'd love to hear more about them. So just a couple things before we start. I want to just offer anybody who'd like to, if this is either your first or second or early meeting and you'd like to introduce yourself, we'd love to know who you are and what brings you here. And really, this is intended to be a place to share, to get to know your peers, get to know other people in this space. So it's always nice to know, who each other is. So I'm inviting anybody who'd like to introduce themselves. Yeah, Martha.
Yes, Nathan, thank you. Martha Schmidt, I'm from the Swampscott Climate Action and Resilience Committee. I'm the chair. We recently started our partnership with MassEnergize. So we have our website up and running, it's live. We just did an outreach event at the middle school last Saturday. It was a little hard to get people's attention at that. But we do have an Earth Day, Earth Fest event coming up in April 26th. So we're going to be, tabling at that and hopefully get a little bit more traction. So
great. Well, Martha, when it's time to talk about Earth Day, I mean, I won't have you share now, but we'd love to hear a little bit more later in the meeting about what you have planned. Great. Okay. Would anybody else like to introduce themselves? Yeah, Owen.
Yeah, hi, I'm Owen Mitz from Northampton, Massachusetts. We're in the process of getting our website up and running, and I am the technical lead as part of that process. So we have a bunch of other folks who are figuring out the content, but having spent the last 100 years doing technology stuff, they picked me to be the technical lead.
Well, I'm sure the Northampton website will be in very good hands. So and everything that we can to do to support you, we would be happy to.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else would like to introduce themselves? Okay. Well, if not, thank you again for joining us on this Monday night. I do want to make just one or two announcements. And I'm actually going to pass it over to Joe Jagger to tell you a little bit, just a few updates related to the MassEnergize Community Climate Leaders Conference, which I think you all know about, but Joe's going to share a couple of updates.
Yeah. So evening, everybody. Just want to share with you that our Community Climate Leaders Conference is coming up on April 30th in Waltham. Hoping to see you all there. Hopefully you've all got your tickets. We've been working really hard on putting together the agenda, so that is now updated on our website, and I'll put the link in the chat in a minute. So if you want to take a look, we've been working on that. So the speakers up there, we've been listing out the breakouts. New this year, we've got a resource breakout, a 30-minute session where we can dig a little deeper into some tools that will be really useful for everybody. And then we've also, from last year, we've done an extended afternoon program. So after the conference day ends at, say, 4, we'll then have some networking time. There'll be a non-profit exhibit fair where you'll get to meet other non-profit organizations, do some networking there. And then we'll end the day with a movie screening of the Inundation District and the director, David Abel, will be there for a Q&A session afterwards. So really looking forward to the day, and hopefully see you all there. So that's April 30th. And I'll just put the link in the chat now if you haven't seen it already.
Yes, Karen, do you want to?
Just a quick question. I saw that inundation district is at the end of the day. Is it possible that people could, who are working and not able to attend the conference, could come for the movie? And would there be like could there be a separate fee for that?
Yes, in fact, we have talked about that, and we are certainly very open to having people come. In terms of how we're going to handle it, I'm actually going to. I see that Megan Sullivan is with us. Megan, are you able to speak to that? I don't know if she's able to use her audio. Okay, yeah, Megan.
Yeah, I'm here. I think we'll finalize that. My inclination is that the movie is free because we do want to open it up to the public, but we will confirm that. Karen, that's a great idea. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, we certainly do. We certainly do want to have. I mean, one of the reasons why we did it kind of later in the afternoon was to say if people couldn't make it for the conference itself, they were certainly welcome to come for the evening. But yes, good question about how we're going to handle ticketing or not. But I'll go with for the time being, let's just say we're hoping that we can just offer it at no charge to people who'd like to. And what we encourage actually is maybe for people to come for the nonprofit fair at the end of the day and then stay for the movie. So great. Okay, good question. Yeah, so just wanted to say for all of you who were at the conference last year, we're gonna, as you know, now we're gonna have an extended day, and we're trying to build in some new things. So those of you who enjoyed the conference last year, I think you'll find that there's some new features that Joe just mentioned, and we're hoping to kind of make it an even more robust day with the nonprofit fair and the movie at the end of the day. So do check the website for updates. We are updating speakers, we're updating, we're confirming workshop sessions. So I think, I don't know when the last time you've been on the site is, but we're making regular updates. So do check back periodically. And we still are open for registration. So do tell friends and family family, but do tell friends and colleagues about the conference because we'd love to have as many people there as possible. Yeah, Karen.
Just one other thing. I grew up in the Berkshire, so I know it's hard for people from Western Mass to sometimes make, that trip. Is there some way that those of us who have space, if someone wanted to come the day before and stay overnight, is there some way we could create a little list of guest rooms for people from afar?
Once again, Megan, can you respond to that?
Karen, you have the best ideas. I think that's a great idea. Let's Joe and me and Nathan put ourselves together and get back to you.
Okay, cool.
I love it. That's really kind.
All right.
Yeah, we had thought not so much of blocking hotel rooms, but letting people know about hotel rooms. There are Waltham, as you know, along I-95 has got a bunch of different relatively low cost hotels. There's the Holiday Inn Express and some others. But even better to have people stay with colleagues or friends if that's a possibility. So thank you, Karen. That's a great idea. Okay, well, that's all about the conference. But as I said, we're regularly updating the site. So, okay, well, the next thing that I want to do is introduce, if you haven't met, I think most of you know, Ariha Jain, who is our community support specialist. And she's actually going to be talking to you tonight a little bit more about Google Analytics, and about some of the features, specifically the nudge feature that your site has. And so I'm going to pass it to Ariha for a presentation on some of the additional things you can do with the site.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nathan. Can you also just confirm if I'm audible and my screen is sharing and you're all able to see my screen? The presentation is on. Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. For those of you I haven't met yet, I'm Ariha Chen, the Community and Program Support Specialist at MassEnergize. I joined the team in January, and since then I have been working closely with communities to help them make the most of our platform, whether that's through websites, outreach tools, or just figuring out how to engage more people. So some of you I have already connected with in one-on-one sessions or community meetings, and for those I haven't, hi, and I'm looking forward to getting you know all. Today I want to talk about something that I know many of you don't love looking at. That's Google Analytics report, and I get it. It can feel like a bunch of numbers that don't really mean much. But actually, these reports, they are full of valuable insights about whether your outreach is working or not. So let's be real. Sometimes we send out the newsletters, we post on social media, we enable the nudges, but we don't actually know if people are engaging with it, they are signing up, they are taking action on the website, or if they are getting people to your site. So that's what we are diving into today, and we'll get started. And just before we get into the presentation, believe me, it will be worth it. I want to show you that spending 15 to 20 minutes with your analytics report each month, it can give you real actionable insights that can help you tweak your outreach strategy and actually see what's working for you. So let's get into it. Okay, why are we talking about this? The answer is really simple. As a community admins, you put in the effort to engage your residents. So how do you measure success? And I want to show you today that spending just a couple of minutes with your analytics report, it can give you real actionable insights, and you will know what is working. So, what is a nudge? A nudge can be defined as a small action that leads to a big impact. It can be anywhere, like the example of a nudge can be anything. It can be a newsletter, it can be a social media post, it can be an event reminder. And these drive website visits. They will have the people take actions, think about your website, think about the engagement they are doing with your with the local community. And if the nudges are used right, they can significantly increase the participation in your programs. So let's see what to look for in the Google Analytics report. I will simultaneously take an example here for Energize Acton. So here, this is the February month. And before I go into it, I just want to explain that the dark blue lines here is for the past month. I mean, in March, on first Monday of March, you received this report. So the dark blue lines, they represent February, and the light blue lines, they will represent January. Okay, so when you open your Google Analytics report, what should you actually be looking for? These key metrics will help you understand how well your community outreach is working and whether people are engaging with your content. So let's get started with users, and here's the session source. So this tells you how many people visited your website in a given period. Users will refer to unique visitors, and sessions, they will count every time someone visits, even if it's the same person returning multiple times. So even if it is you like checking events on your website and making sure, it will also record that. So if you notice a spike, that's a great opportunity to ask, what did we do that day? Did we send a newsletter? Did we share an event nudge, or did we post on social media with the link to our website, to our a community website? So understanding what's driving traffic, it can help you do more of what works. If we talk about traffic sources, where is your website traffic coming from? This is where you can look for the sources. And here we are talking about Energize Acton. And here's a good way to say that what we did with aboteenergy.com, that it got 8 users from that session. So the traffic sources, it tells you, are people clicking links in your emails? Are they coming from social media, or are they finding you through Google searches? If email is your biggest traffic driver, that tells you your newsletters are working. And social media, if it isn't bringing much traffic, maybe it's time to tweak your strategy here. For example, if you see here direct, it brings 85. So a direct basically says that the UTM parameter was not set, and the Google Analytics, it is not able to determine what source the user is coming from to your website. But Google, they are either searching for Energize Acton or energizeacton.org. Why it is here as the session sources, because maybe the user is going on different pages. Maybe they are exploring the event section, or maybe they are exploring the About Us section. So it is also recorded here. And this is interesting why energizevalen.org is listed here, is because they might have cross-posted an event and people are clicking on that event from Energize Valent and they are coming to Energize Acton. So this is a great way to know that 5 users came in February from Energize Valent to Energize Acton. Now let's talk about engagement rate here. This tells you whether visitors are actually engaging with your website. A good engagement rate lies anywhere between 60 to 70%. So this is a really good engagement rate here. A low engagement rate, it would mean people are landing on your site, but leaving very quickly. Maybe they didn't find what they were expecting, or the page wasn't engaging enough. Or if you have a high engagement rate, it means that people are clicking around. The events you are posting, they are working. If you have nudges enabled, it is working. And people are actually interacting with your content. So the goal is to keep people on your site longer and encourage them to take the action. Now here we can see the top actions that worked for Energize Acton. Why here it is MassEnergize is because if someone goes to MassEnergize and searches under the communities tab and they look for Energize Acton, this is the home page and Energize events. So maximum here we can see is for events. So people were interacting with the events and signing up. So they will let you know if they are visiting the homepage or whatever section it is, and it will help you know that what page of your website is the most popular, and you might want to work on that. So by paying attention to these metrics, it can help you see the trends and measure the impact in a better way. Coming back to our
So,
presentation.
okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
Ariha, before you go on, I think you might have some questions. So
Okay.
I can't see everybody because we're in screen sharing mode. But if you do have a question, please feel free to speak up. Ariha, is that okay if people have questions before we
Yes.
go on?
Yes. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Well, I actually do, Ariha. So if you could go back to the last screen.
Okay.
So my question is on the direct, the session source. Doesn't direct mean that they're not coming through, or they're not coming through another site, a referral site, but they're coming directly by directly going in and typing Energize Acton into the URL? Isn't that what that means?
That is a very good question, Nathan. So the Google here is what means if like someone is searching directly on Google for Energize Acton, but direct means a lot of things here. Even I was reading about it some days back, and direct means if we sent out a newsletter, for example, if Energize Acton sent a newsletter out, and the UTM parameters are not set for those links. They have included the links to maybe the events page or maybe the actions page to take actions. But the UTM parameters are not set, so Google Analytics won't be able to determine the source where the user is coming from. So it is also included in direct. So mostly I would say the users here are coming from newsletter. That's my understanding.
Okay. Okay. And then just one other observation that I have is that I see that that there's referral sites, Energize Wayland, Resilient Swampscott, EcoNatick, all are sources that have drawn people to the Energize Acton site. And so I do assume that those are events sharing, but this is a good reason to share events on the events page, not only to, let people know what you're doing, but to also help drive traffic to your site. And then we can see that the events page on the Energize Acton is the next highest after just the landing page for Energize Acton.
Right, absolutely. So that's my observation as well, that cross-posting the events helps a lot, mainly for the website. For example, in this case, Energize Acton posted the event, so they would receive a lot of users from other websites as well on their page.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, yeah, Eric, you've got a question. You're muted, Eric.
Yeah, sorry, thank you. So does anybody make a tiny URL or something from a social media campaign that would come to our site, and then that is able to be distinguished from, let's say, a previous month's posting or anything, so we can track over time that, is that feasible, or is it basically it's going to land in direct both times?
Fabiani can answer this because we're doing that.
Yeah, Fabiani, do you have an answer for either bit.ly or tiny URL links, how they show up in the analytics?
Well, they show us like a regular click. So our bit.ly links is, we know where the traffic's coming from. For example, if we want to track for a specific event that was shared on your Facebook page, then we can track the number of clicks on that specific post. But then if they see that post and enter your website on Google, then it's going to count on your Google Analytics. So it is like separate things. But if they see your post and how they go to your website, like the next step, then it goes to Google Analytics.
I think the answer to that is that we are using bit.ly links quite a bit to track the origin, how people are getting to certain landing pages, but they're still showing up generally as like coming from social media or coming from some other source when you look at Google Analytics. So it's the combination of looking at Google Analytics and what bit.ly links are showing us is what we've been doing.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to mention
go ahead,
one
Brad.
thing, which clarify one thing. The analytics, if you're signed in as a community admin, the analytics won't count you in those graphs, and that's intentional, because we're trying to count anonymous users or signed in users or something like that. So don't be concerned that maybe you're dominating those graphs when you're visiting your own site if you're signed in as a community admin.
Great. Okay. That was helpful, Brad. Thank you so much. Coming back to our presentation. So we just looked at some of these terms and what they mean. Next, let's look at two examples. I took a community Wayland and a community Acton to look at how the graphs worked for them and when they sent out the nudges and what kind of spike worked for them. So I'm not going to click on the links. I have these open here with me. Let's look at Acton, for example. So since nudges were disabled for Acton, we are focusing on their newsletters and how it affected the website traffic. So I know from Karen that January 8th and February 24th were the newsletters send dates. And again, the dark blue line is February and the light blue is January here. And looking at the report, we can see that a clear spike in the website traffic was on February 24th here, which means that it aligns with the newsletter when it was sent. And this tells us that the newsletters played a significant role in driving to the site. Same here, January 8th. There's again, so the same number of users were here. 16 users visited because of the newsletter. I'm not sure what happened here from the data I had available with me. I'm not sure what happened here, but I'm assuming there was a event for January 12th. Maybe Karen can help us here if she knows what happened. But this is very interesting to see why 20 users went on January 12th on the website. Let's look at Wayland, for example. They have nudges enabled and their newsletter went out as well. They had active users of 109. Wayland was very interesting when I was looking at it because my observation was the spike here. It had 76 users which went on the website on January 22nd. And this is not a newsletter. This is a nudge that went out for Energize Wayland. The newsletter was sent out on January 6th, which is here, and February 5th. February 5th is here again. And you can see that the most of the spike here is because of the nudge and not a newsletter. This was my assumption as well, that normally the highest spike would be from a newsletter, but the data proved me wrong that it was not the case. And nudge here was more effective in driving the engagement for Energize Wayland. So why it matters? This data help us identify what works best for each community. If nudges are more effective than newsletters, it might be worth using them more strategically.
Yeah. So, okay, a question. This actually question is for Ellen. Ellen, what was the nature of the nudge?
Riha can pull it up. These are nudges that you enable from the software, so they're always related to events. And when you
Okay.
create an event, there's a default setting of how often the nudge goes out. And Riha, you can pull up that email, but the nudge actually related to two events, a talk from Melissa Hoffer and a induction stove. What was the other one? Heat pump water heaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there. So that's what the nudge was. And we've enabled nudges. Whenever we post an event, we use nudges. I know people are concerned that users might feel annoyed that they're getting too many emails. When the nudge goes out, if you see the sentence in the italics, if you want to change how often you get these notifications, click here. I've only had one person unsubscribe. These nudges are only going out to our users on the site, which is actually a smaller number of people than the number of people subscribed to our newsletter. So it's particularly interesting that we're getting a bigger spike from a smaller N, right? A smaller number of people actually receiving the email. That's interesting. We have not heard negative feedback on the nudges being annoying. I sometimes adjust the default settings. I don't always use what the software gives you as the default because for certain events, I don't want as many nudges, but that's under my control and I change that as the admin.
Yes, Brad.
The impact is going to depend on what you put in the newsletter. This nudge, as you look at it, it just says, you want to check out this event, Melissa Hoffer, click on this and you'll find out all the details. There's only one way to find out the details about Melissa Hoffer's event here. Now, in your newsletter, if you put the other information about, when it's happening or something like that, it's less of a, you're not going to drive so many people to the site.
But in our newsletter, Brad, when we list events, we give them the link to go back to the site and register to the site because I want to track it. I don't give them
good.
right for registration because then I won't be able to see it. So that's how we.
Okay, cool.
Great. Okay. This is a really good point which was raised, because I will be showing ahead in this presentation next that how you can set the communications. I will also show how admin, as an admin, you can set it for an event, and how if you're talking to any user and if they raise any concerns, how even they can set the preferences for how they're receiving the notifications. So
So Ariha, I have one more question among all of
Yeah.
these others, but a reminder of how, maybe before you finish, a reminder of how people can access their Google Analytics reports.
Sure. So everyone, like all the community admins, whoever's email is registered, should receive a Google Analytics report the first Monday of every month, for which shows, for example, in March, for the first Monday, they got the report here. Looks like this, where you can track the February month and the January month, how the website traffic looks for them.
But do people need to log in, or is it just
They-
automatically delivered to them
It's-
by email?
They just receive this screenshot on their email.
Okay. So yeah, those of you who maybe don't have access, or for whatever reason didn't find that, maybe you can reach out to us if you aren't getting your Google Analytics reports. Okay, yeah, Ariha, you can carry on.
Yeah, so this was the nudge sent from Energize Wayland, which got them 78 users attracted to the website, and more people, it might lead to more even signups. So here, if the user goes here, they can, if they click here, they can set the preferences for the communication as well. Okay, I will show here the preferences by admin. For example, as an admin, if you are posting an event, how you can set the notifications as they go out. So I am signed in here in the admin. I am the super admin. It looks a little different for me, but if I go here, all events and campaigns, and if I just look for a demo event, let's take this example. If I will go to options, I can find notification settings here, and I can set when I want to send out the notification for this particular email. I might uncheck this and just have them get the notification 1 week prior to the event. This will go to all the users who have the account on the website for your community portal. So this is how, as an admin, you can have the control of any event. Even if you are cross-posting, you can copy the event and change the notification settings here. And then next, I will show you a communication preferences by user. So I will take here as an example. I am here in Energize Acton. I will sign in. Okay, so if I click on my initials here, AJ, I go to preferences. And if I go to change a communication preferences, I can select here as a user how I would like to be notified about new events. By default, it is checked as weekly. And the screenshot which I showed here as a nudge, like what the user gets for the email, if they click here, the link would take them directly to this website here. So there are two ways to set the preferences for the notification. Coming back to our slideshow. So I was reading online, and this is what I find. If you are a community who sends out the newsletter, Tuesday or Wednesday are the best performing days for engagement. And I am not saying this, it is not my opinion, but it is just whatever marketing experience I have. And if you also read online, this is what they recommend for newsletter. Thursday is also a strong contender if midweek isn't possible. But they say to avoid Mondays because people are catching up on work, emails, the emails, your newsletter might get ignored. And you should avoid Fridays and weekends as well, because engagement normally drops on these days. And best time to send is between 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on those days. Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Late morning is when people check emails after settling into their day, or in the evening, because people are catching up after work, so they are more likely to engage to your newsletter. Now, why it matters? Because we are reviewing your analytics, it will help you understand what's working for you, what's not working for you. It will help you adjust your outreach strategy based on the data. For example, what Ellen learned looking at her reports is that nudge really worked for her in February. So she might want to maybe play with her nudge settings and how the communication goes out. And then it will help you make smarter decisions, and it will lead to more community action for you. Next steps. So here's what I encourage you to do next. Check your next Google Analytics report, or maybe the one which came out in March. You can compare the traffic trends to the newsletters and nudges you have sent. And you can reach out to me if you need help interpreting the data. And this is my last slide. I would love to hear from you if you got a chance to look at your trends, or if you need understanding your analytics report. And I also would like to challenge you to check your February analytics report and share one takeaway in our Slack channel group. And this way we can learn from each other and find the best outreach strategies for different communities. And thank you so much for listening to my session. And if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Ariha. Are there any other final questions for Ariha about, just questions about Google Analytics or nudges? Okay. If not, thank you. Thank you very much. I just want to say one thing before we go on, which is that we are going to, we at MassEnergize are going to be doing some more work on our software. And we are going to be actually polling people through a survey fairly soon, in the next couple of weeks. So not immediately, but in the next few weeks, you should get a survey from us. And Ariha will be reaching out just because we want to better understand your use of the site. Features that you really like, features that you don't use so much. We're trying to understand better our community's use of the site as we think about making some changes and updates. So we'd love to hear from you, and please, when you see that survey, please know that it's really going to be helping us determine kind of what are the important features and what features are perhaps not so important to you. So, okay, I see a couple things in the chat. Is there anything that we need to talk about before that goes on? Looks like people are congratulating some of the communities on kind of implementing some of these nudges. Okay, what we're going to do now is move into another just a time to share and learn from each other what we are doing. And we thought that a nice topic would be, is we're obviously in March, the month before April and Earth Day. Love to hear from any of you what you're doing for Earth Day, what you're planning on, what you're thinking of, questions that you may have that others might like to solicit some input from other people. So I'm going to open it up for a kind of an open discussion. Feel free to raise your hand, ask a question. Feel free to share what you're doing. We'd love to hear from you. Rob, I'm going to put you on the spot. What's Ashland planning for Earth Day or Earth Month?
Oh my God. Okay. Well, we do having an Earth Day. We're having it with the sustainability director who is putting it on in downtown Ashland. And we usually have quite a few vendors around, and Energize Ashland and the sustainability committee will be putting together some presentations on variety of items. We haven't exactly decided yet what we will be tabling, but we hope to come up with something interactive, which usually attracts the most people. And we'll see how it works. We have nothing really special that we know about at this particular point, but we are putting the event on.
Great. And how are you alerting people to the events?
Pretty much to our standard, channels, Facebook, social media, newsletter, all that. So our regular channels.
Okay.
Last year was pretty successful. Last year was the second year we did this, and it was pretty successful. So we hope it'll be even more successful this year. We'll see.
Great. Well, definitely check your Google Analytics reports afterwards to see kind of what level of engagement you got. Yeah, so Martha, I see you've turned your video on. Love to hear what Swampscott has planned.
Sure. So we've held an Earth Fest the last number of years. So definitely Climate Action and Resilience Committee will be tabling. We will be promoting Resilience Swampscott and trying to encourage people to sign up. There's also a number of other groups that are tabling. So Swampscott Conservancy, Harbin Waterfront, Water and Sewer Advisory Committee. So it's actually pretty well attended. And there is an event going on at the library. So they basically have more interactive activities going on. So we're thinking we'd like to do something more hands-on than we've done in the past, because we don't get as much traffic if people can't interact. For example, Conservancy brings exhibits like basically sea life creatures, hands-on. You can touch crabs and that kind of thing that seems to attract families and children. So we're hoping to have some games at our event this year.
Do they know about the climate games?
I'm not sure. Martha, are you referring to what kind of games you're referring to?
Well, I heard that there were some climate games that we're hoping to get our hands on, at least borrow for that day. I don't know if we need to get a line.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so yes, we do have climate games. I'm not sure. I'm not in charge of the schedule, so I'm not sure if you have them, but we could certainly check. Fabiani, are they reserved for Swampscott?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
We
Okay, well,
asked.
we can follow up, Martha. We'll follow up after the meeting. Okay, yeah. Anybody else would like to share? Thank you, Martha, and I really hope the Swampscott.
Interesting. We actually borrowed the games from you guys, and we borrowed all of them at one time or another for a farmers market event, and they were very well received. They're very well made. They're great games. So we decided this year that one of our handy people is actually making 2 games just for Ashland. So we don't have to go back every time to Lexington to go and pick up these games. So it's definitely worth it to have some good games.
Great. So Wendy, I'm going to put you on the spot. What's being planned in Newburyport?
Well, we haven't planned anything for Earth Day, but that's primarily because the Resiliency Committee in Newburyport is planning a Green Expo on May 18th. So it's going to be, they've hired an event planner to plan all this and have it at a local school. And I just was looking at this spreadsheet of all of the vendors, exhibitors, schools, Chamber of Commerce, everybody that they've been inviting. I just don't know how many people have responded and say they're actually going to be there. Attend. I think they're still working on that. So
And Wendy, do you do things with Amesbury? Because I do know that Amesbury has an Earth Day event going.
No, actually, we haven't planned anything with Amesbury that I know of in the past.
Hmm.
There isn't a MassEnergize Amesbury group, is there?
No, there's not. But as you know, we've been doing work. We're doing work on another program in Newburyport, and so yes, some of our contacts in Amesbury let us know that there's going to be an Earth Day event in
Okay.
Amesbury. So,
But since you just mentioned the games, I was thinking I should look into that because that would be great to have at the expo. So, who should I talk to about the games?
talk to Joe Jagger. Joe.
Okay.
I'll put the link in
We're
the
already
chat
signed up
about
for
it.
Sorry, I was saying we are already signed up for Green Expo, Wendy. I am the one who will be bringing the games to the
Oh, you
event.
are? Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I
Okay.
will let you know that April is a very busy time for the games. They're under they're in high demand. So you do need to reserve them. If you have an event that you'd like to borrow the games for, you do reserve them as soon as possible because we do book out, and April is a very busy month.
Thank you.
Okay, other activities. How about Tom in Sudbury? What Sudbury got planned for Earth Day?
We had an Earth Day planned last year, but this year we don't have anything. We have the town is putting on a couple of farmers market kind of things I think one's in May. Sorry, I don't know the details very much, but that's sort of taking the place of the Earth Day.
Okay. Yeah, Ellen.
Yeah, so in Wayland, we haven't done an Earth Day event in quite a few years because I didn't have somebody to step up who wanted to organize it. And all of our volunteers are pretty busy. But this year we had someone who stepped up who helped ran the first Earth Day event 30 years ago or something like in Wayland. So
Wow.
a long time volunteer with us in and out. So we are May 4th, a Sunday. We are going to have morning activities of get outside and do stuff. We're going to have a bird watch. We're going to have a bike ride, an e-bike ride, a hike. Those are like morning things. And then from 12 to 3, we were having something at our new Council on Aging building, which is a completely green, fossil fuel free building that will be opening like a week or two after this. And that is pretty typical to what you guys are doing. Vendors, we are in search of games. So Rob, I just emailed you to say maybe we can borrow yours because the MassEnergize ones are booked. We're doing face painting that always was big hit in Newton. So we remember that the National Honor Society is staffing that. We're really trying to involve the kids from the high school. We've got the green team at the high school working with us. And then we are doing a multi-generational thing in addition to vendors around all the things you would expect. The invite's going out shortly. We are having a table for 5 different things, ranging from solar to heat pumps to something else. And there is going to be 5 questions posted for each of those to engage people in the questions. And we're going to have someone knowledgeable, and we're also having a student in each of those. We tried to think about an art thing. We just really ran out of bandwidth. Like, could we do an art gallery with students producing art related to the environment? But we just don't have enough volunteers to pull that off. We have, in terms of advertisements, we've blocked out 2 or 3 weeks at key intersections for banners. We're going to use, we sign those up through our towns, and we've got that. And we've got our normal outreach channels, getting it in the many newsletters in town, social media, our newsletter. We'll see. We haven't done one in a long time.
Great. It sounds like you've got some fun things planned. So Eric, what's the Earth Day planning, or what's the Earth Day celebrations in Northampton?
Oh my. Well, we are under a deadline to stand up something on the website for an event in late March. which will talk about heat pumps and other energy opportunities in the community. So that's where our organizing is focused now. I actually I'm on another environmental group that may be doing an Earth Day event, but I am not on the know on that. I'm pretty sure it's something will happen, and maybe it will. We had a big rally on Sunday in an opposition rally, and maybe we could do something like that to defend NOAA or you know. But I can't say anything definitive about that. But we're excited to be bringing our website up and sooner than that and get some interaction. So that's what I know.
Okay, good, good. All right. Well, would anybody else like to share?
I'll say that we're not having an Earth Day. We have we have a big event in April, the 250th anniversary of the first battle of the Revolution, not the second one. And looking forward to that. That's going to be a big event, but it's taking a lot of attention. So we thought about maybe doing one in May or even in September. Maybe we'll get something together in September, but.
Yes, Karen.
I'm just wondering, is there any national plan for any kind of unified protest toward the end of April? I haven't heard of anything, but it feels like there are well, two things. First of all, it feels like a time when we need to do more than what the Acton Sustainability Office is planning for Earth Week. But I mean, they can't be political really, but it feels like it's a time to be more political. And it also feels like there are so many like separate different things that, people are kind of getting pulled, like, do I go to this? Do I go to that? It can feel overwhelming. So I wonder if there's anything sort of big and unified that you guys have heard of.
Well, I'll say that I am not aware of one big unified action, but anybody else? I mean, Karen, it's a good question, and you're right. I think now is the time to be raising our voices. But I am not aware of a big unified action that's coming up.
Maybe for the March community practice meeting, we can, between now and then, we can research, people can gather that and share it next time if there's any national theme or actions.
Sure.
And if I could go back to music for a second, I put it
of course
that, but we had this like fall harvest plant-based event. And it was really interesting. We all started talking about music and talking about Pete Seeger and talking about some of the civil rights songs, like we shall not be moved, all that kind of stuff that like when you're out walking, it just lifts you and it strengthens you. And when we were talking last fall, it was like, where's the climate music that does that? So I think it would be really cool if anybody has any connections to musicians who are like, or, hooked into this or has resources. I just think it could be really helpful.
Yeah. So Karen, I mean, thank you. I think that's a great suggestion. I don't know if people know the singer-songwriter Fred Small, but I actually do know.
A heat pump song?
Did Fred do a heat pump song? I'm not sure. But he's local. He's local here. He lives in Cambridge. He's a musician and he's a climate activist. And I actually know him. So let's see if maybe I can invite him to a community of practice meeting sometime, and we can do a community of practice sing along, or at least for part of it. I don't know. I don't know how busy he is and if he'd be willing, but yes, there certainly is climate music. And if you want to look up Fred Small, he's also a Unitarian. He's a Unitarian minister, and has done a lot with music, not just climate protest music, but other kinds of music as well. So.
Mm.
I can introduce you to Sawyer Lawson, who's the son of Bob Lawson, who's a musician. I don't know if people know him, but Sawyer has done climate-related songs. Lives in Concord. He'd be happy for you to hire him
Maybe this could be part
anytime.
of next year's Climate Leaders Conference.
Yes, yes. I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great idea.
I will find the heat pump song. Somebody here has heard this song, but it's like Ellen knows it. It's so cool. It's kind of jazzy, and it's like heat pumps. They make you hot when you need the heat, and they cool you down. It's really fun. It doesn't go like that.
No, I've actually I've heard that on the radio. Actually, there was WBUR did something, and they played that heat pump song, so I have heard it as well. So. Okay, well, folks, we don't have a lot more on the agenda, and I'm sure nobody would complain if we ended the meeting early. Is there anything else people would like to say or ask about anything going on in your community, whether it's Earth Day related or not?
Can I ask
Wendy.
a question? So this committee that's planning this green expo event was asking me for a list of heat pump companies that might want to exhibit or solar panel. Do we have a list of these kind of vendors on our website that anybody can access?
Ellen, you're muted.
No, MassEnergize does not have those vendors up. I think offline, like we just went through this in Wayland, so I know who we're going to use. But as an organization, MassEnergize has not been in the business of recommending vendors. I mean, the Heat Smart Alliance has been a good source, and our heat pump coaches for like who services that area that has been doing a good job. So Brad and others on that may have some views. For solar, you can download from the state the solar companies that have done the most number of installations in your town. That is knowable, but I'm not. So that's one way to approach it. I don't know. We're going to invite 3, and I know why we're inviting those 3 for solar. And I know the heat pump and folks and why we're inviting them. I don't know if they. I'll if you email me, I'll tell you who we're inviting. I have to pull it off another email. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, so that's how we are. I don't know, Brad, if you have any other thoughts.
I mean, we do have a list, but
yeah.
just
I mean, for solar, we're going to invite Revision. We're inviting Boston Solar and East Coast Solar, and for heat pumps, I think we're doing. I gotta look. Net Zero and 2 others. The Laminar Collaborative is also interesting. They've done this sort of open book look at getting quotes for heat pumps and sharing that information with people, so a little more transparency about what things cost. And Kit is usually willing to come to events and has really been trying to help particularly income eligible households sign up for heat pumps and get what they're entitled to through their local CAP agency. But I don't think he's been working so much in the North Shore, but I know he's often available, and you can get, if you email any of the MassEnergize team, you can get Kit's
okay.
name.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was also interested in to see if Laminar would be coming all the way up to Metro West, and if they would be willing to work on a bulk contract, for heat pumps, but specifically for some kind of heat pump campaign. I don't know. Would that be possible? I think didn't they do something like that with Acton or?
They finished one a year ago, quite close to it, like It was,
In Marlboro.
well, they're
Marlboro?
work in Marlboro right now, but that's really just on the income eligible side. But just, I think if you reach out to Kit and you could bring it up in the plugin community with Fabiana, we could reach out to Kit. You know, he said he would have new prices in April that he could
April.
share. So if Fabiana, maybe put that on the agenda for the 7 communities.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna do net zero and sum zero on the I'm looking at my list here that
Here, I've just put Kit's email address in the chat. He's the contact for Laminar Collective, so. Okay, any other final questions, comments?
Wendy, I'm putting in the chat who we're inviting because I just pulled it out of an email. You can decide what you want to do. It's just from an email from me to other people. So in my community, so the names of who's supposed to do it won't mean anything to you.
And I was going to say, you know, after this meeting, there's really no way, is there, to access this chat to see all of the notes that people put in and links and whatever? Is there any way to?
Joe, can we share the chat?
Yeah, so I normally take the main bits out and put them in the various resources, but if you want for this one, I can add it to the resource center so you can have a copy of the chat. It's not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, I think we are going to just wrap up a little bit early tonight. I'm sure people have other things they need and want to do. So there will be, you know, there sometimes because of last year, because of the conference, we didn't actually have an April community of practice, but we will be having an April community of practice. It's our conference, as you know, is at the end of April. So there will be an April meeting, and we do have Bob Zog from the Heat Smart Alliance, who is going to be speaking. I'm not exactly sure what specific topic he is speaking to.
I know he's going to speak on, he gave a really great presentation on heat pump water heaters, which is something most of us have not done that much about. I mean, Karen and Rob have because of the plug-in campaign, and we had more signups for that than we've had for most of our other events. And Bob's terrific. It would be great so people can learn about what a heat pump hot water heater is, when it makes sense, when it doesn't make sense, what the rebates are. Then you can listen to Bob and decide if that's the kind of, if you want to offer that kind of talk in your community, or if several communities want to get together to, you know, promote an event like that. But I think most folks have focused on heat pumps for heating and cooling and not really thought about the water heaters, which have a shorter lifespan, right? So there's a more, the turnover rate, people replace them more often is what I want to say, Karen.
Yeah. Karen.
Yeah, can I just ask, did Bob Zog talk about, I just saw something today, which is a solar powered heat pump water heater. Did Bob Zog say anything about that?
Fabiana, I don't think so.
It looks really interesting.
I don't.
For the future.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. We'll wrap it up there, but look forward to seeing you next month. But do stay in touch, and as I said, help us get the word out about the conference if you know anybody who's interested in joining us but hasn't registered yet. So just go to our website, and there's lots more information there. So have a good rest of the month, and certainly be in touch.